Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Lilamrita Sar Tar Sata Satadhar Dasadik Bahe Jahaite Se Chaitanya Lilahai Sarovarakshai Manaham Sacharahate. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to our Chaitanya Charitamrita class. So now we are in Adilila, chapter 6, discussing the glories of Sri Advaita Acharya. We are discussing Advaita Acharya Prabhu. He has been preaching the practice of devotional service by explaining Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and that's why he is Acharya. And particularly today, we will be discussing about today's main topic for discussion is key to the highest pleasure. In the material world, everybody is seeking for some sort of pleasure. And if you see closely, everybody is looking forward to attaining highest form of pleasure. And how do they do that? They follow somebody. If somebody wants to attain pleasure, maybe they are following a film artist, or somebody is following a cricketer, somebody is following some material object in this world to attain some sort of pleasure. So in this material world, whatever pleasure people attain by following their models in form of material object or a materialistic person, attainment of pleasure in the material plane is temporary. But how can a devotee attain the highest form of pleasure? What is the key to attain the highest pleasure? So today we will look into that topic by reading the glories of Sri Advaita Acharya. So here we have completed until text number 28. Now we're going to start from text number 29. That Advaita Acharya is in a form of Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu as Advaita Acharya, he not only creates this universe, but also he teaches everybody the science of devotional service. Therefore, in text number 29, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Bhakti upadesha vinu tar nahi karya ataeva nama haila advaita acharya. Since he has no other occupation than to teach devotional service, his name is Advaita Acharya. Acharya means one who teaches by practice, achar. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Srila Haridas Thakur is Nam Acharya because he teaches by his personal example. Mahaprabhu said, Achar karen keho na karen prachar, prachar karen keho na karen achar. तो आचार प्रचार नामे करह दुई कार्य. Then you will be worshipable by the people of this world and you are naturally acharya because you teach by your personal example or practice. So here Sri Advaita Acharya Bhakti Upadesh Vinu Tar Nahi Karya. He not only gives instruction concerning devotional service, but we have seen Advaita Acharya, he worshipped Salagram with Ganges water and Tulasi leaf in Santipur on the bank of Ganga. That's how, with his loud call, he made Sri Krishna to descend to this world as Lord Chaitanya. That's also, we can see in one way, the mercy of Sri Advaita Acharya. And those who are the merciful acharyas, they actually teach the practical process of devotional service. Nowadays, so many people are engaged in preaching spirituality. But if we take a close look at their practice, their activities, and how people are able to benefit from such kind of preaching, we can see very well that the way Prabhupada has established this ISKCON movement and how he has given these teachings of Krishna consciousness, that is highest. And we are at present in world statistics, the highest religious organization or spiritual organization, whatever you may say, is guiding people on the right path with the right consciousness. So in that way, Bhakti Vinu, Bhakti Upadesh Vinu, Tad Nahi Karya. Since Advaita Acharya is the preacher, the teacher, he has no other service than to teach everyone the science of devotional service. Therefore, he is an Acharya. Vaishnavara Guru te ho, Bhagavate, Vaishnavera Guru te ho, Jagatera Arya. Dui Nam Milane Haila Advaita Acharya. Vaishnavar Guru. Advaita Acharya have been defined here as the spiritual master of the Vaishnavas, the devotees. Why? Because Advaita Acharya, he teaches the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord how to worship or how to practice devotional service. Therefore, you can see we are also following the line. Therefore, in our sampradaya, we teach only devotional service. And Vaishnava Guru Jagatir Arya. Arya means Pujya. He is worshipable by the people of this world. He is the spiritual master of all devotees and is the most revered personality in the world. Ataiv Nama Haila Advaita Acharya. Therefore, his name has become Advaita Acharya. By the combination of these two names, his name is Advaita Acharya. Sri Advaita Acharya is the prime spiritual master of the Vaishnavas and he is worshipable by all Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas must follow in the footsteps of Advaita Acharya, for by so doing, one can actually engage in the devotional service of the Lord. So, after explaining how his name became Advaita Acharya, now Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the next verse is going to introduce another name of Advaita Acharya. Kamala Nayane Reteho Jati Ango Angsho Kamalaksha Koridhare Namavatamsha. Since he is a limb or part of the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord, he also bears the name Kamalaksha. When Prabhupada says, since he is a limb or part of the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord, that means he is part of Mahavishnu. Therefore, he is uh, also he bears the name of Kamalaksha. Ishvara Sarupyapai Parishadagan Chaturbhuja Pitavasa Jaiche Narayan. His associates have the same bodily features as the Lord. They all have 4 arms and are dressed in yellow garments like Narayana. We know the associates of Narayana, they have 4 arms. The bodily features of the associate of Lord Narayana uh, are that of like the bodily features of Narayana. So Advaita Acharya is actually Narayana. Mahavishnu means he is also Narayana. So in that way, his associates also have the same bodily features as the Lord. He is not different from the Lord, Advaita Acharya. So his associates also have the bodily features as he has. But to speak of the associates of the Lord having the same bodily features as the Lord, we have information from Skanda Puran and other Purans that the devotees of Lord Jagannath who are residing in Puri, they are also Chaturbhuj. That means anyone who enters into Puri Dham, they assume Chaturbhuj. But you can see it. You don't have the power to see it. But by the Lord's grace, they become Chaturbhuj. So here it is said, the associates have the same bodily features. The Lord means Advaita Acharya. They all have 4 arms and are dressed in yellow garments like Narayana. Advaita Acharya Ishwareram Savarya Tara Tattva Nama Guna Sakali Ascharya. See, Advaita Acharya is the principal limb of the Supreme Lord. His truths, names, and attributes are all wonderful. We will see that. Now, from text number 34 to 36, in these 3 verses, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes wonderful attributes of Advaita Acharya. In 33, he said, Tar Tattva Nama Guna. The truth, name, and attributes concerning Advaita Acharya, Sakali Ascharya, are all wonderful. How his attributes are wonderful? So now he is going to discuss that in 3 verses. Jahar tulasi jale, jahar hunkare, swagana sahita chaitanya avatare. This is one of the very important attribute of Advaita Acharya, that he worshipped Krishna with tulasi leaves and water of the Ganges and called for him in a loud voice. Thus, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on earth accompanied by his personal associates. So, because Advaita Acharya Prabhu was compassionate for all the living entities, therefore, he, by worshipping Salagram with tulasi leaf and Ganges water, with loud voice, he called for Krishna, and Krishna had to respond to his calling. And Krishna, in form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, descended to this world along with his associates. This is one attribute of Advaitacharya. And another one, Jaradvara Kaila Prabhu Kirtana Prachar Jaradvara Kaila Prabhu Jagatanishta Acharya Gosair Guna Mahima Apar Jiva Koti Kathai Pai Beko Tarapar. Another attribute of Advaitacharya is it is through him, Advaitacharya, that Lord Chaitanya spread the Sankirtan movement, and through him that he delivered the world. Sometimes, many times actually, we hear that Nityananda Prabhu actually spread the Sankirtan movement, or Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread the movement. But here in Mayapur, our deity's name is Panchatattva. The same Lord, he has appeared in 5 features. Means he is performing the same activity of spreading the Sankirtan movement in 5 forms. So Advaitacharya also has helped Lord Chaitanya to spread this Sankirtan movement. You just imagine, in this connection, we can say Advaitacharya has played the key role to spread the Sankirtan movement. How? Now you can tell. Had Advaitacharya not called for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to descend, then how can this spreading of the holy name will take place? Because he, with loud voice, called for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's how the Sankirtan movement started to spread. So he is also spreading, and also we have seen in Advaitacharya Prabhu's personal life, he used to teach the Gita Bhagavatam. So in that way, that's also another way of spreading the Sankirtan movement, right? In our society, how we say we are spreading Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We chant, sometimes we do Kirtan Mela, but many times our devotees, they give seminar, we do book distribution, right? Many devotees are engaged in also giving, they write books. So in that way, these are all part of the activity of spreading the Sankirtan movement. So Advaitacharya Prabhu, with the help of Advaitacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread the Sankirtan movement. And the glory and attributes of Advaitacharya are unlimited because he is the Supreme Lord. Like Supreme Lord's glories are unlimited, similarly, Advaitacharya's glories are also unlimited. How can the insignificant living entities fathom them? That means nobody can find an end to the glories of Advaitacharya. Just like we heard, Anantadev have been glorifying the glories of the Supreme Lord through his unlimited mounts for many, many years, but still he has not found the end. Similarly, Advaitacharya's glories are fathomless. Acharya Gosai Chaitanya Mukhyanga Aro Eko Anga Taro Prabhu Nityananda. So, in this verse, we are discussing Bhaktavataram, the part Bhaktavataram. So, he is Bhaktavatar. So, here Advaita Gosai Chaitanya Mukhya Anga. Sri Advaitacharya is the principal limb of Chaitanya. And another limb of the Lord is Nityananda Prabhu. So we have seen Sangha Pangastra Parsadam Jagya Sankirtanai Prayal Jajanti Hi Sumedhasa. Right? Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sango Panga Straparsadam, Sanga and Upanga. So here this Advaitacharya Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are his anga, his limb, principal limbs, you can say. Then Upanga means Upanga, anga of anga. Anga's anga called Upanga. So who are they? Prabhu Upanga Shiva Sadi Bhaktavan Hasta Mukha Netra Anga Chakradyantrasam Chakradyastrasam. The devotees headed by Shivas are his smaller limbs. They are like his hands, face, and eyes, and his disc and other weapons. So if you say Upanga, like maybe this is our anga, like this arm, okay? Then in the arm we have got these fingers, right? This is Upanga. This is anga, main anga connected with the body. Then this is also coming from this anga called Upanga. So here, these other devotees like Advaita, Shivas and others, they are acting like what? His hands, face, eyes, and his disc and other weapons. So in that way, the devotees of the Lord who assisted him to spread the Sankirtan movement, they are the weapons, they are his limbs, they are the limbs of the secondary limb of his primary limb. So in that way, devotees are everything for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From this understanding, we can say that devotees are so dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not tolerate any harm caused to his devotees. We have seen many examples, Jagai Madhai and others, Chapal Gopal and many others who are trying to harm his devotee. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not tolerate because they are his Upanga, Anga and Upanga. Like somebody is causing harm to your finger, even though that is your Upanga, can you tolerate? You can tolerate. That's how we see. That means these devotees in our Krishna consciousness movement who are engaged in spreading the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Esavalaya Chaitanya Prabhur Bihar Esavalaya Karen Banchita Prachar. With all of them, Lord Chaitanya performed his pastimes, and with them he spread his mission. Madhavendra Puririho Shishwe Gyane Acharya Gosai Re Prabhu Guru Karimane. Madhavendra Puri Iho Shishya. Advaitacharya Prabhu is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Because Advaitacharya Prabhu is Madhavendra Puri's disciple, knowing this, in this way, Acharya Gosaire Prabhu Guru Karimane. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu respects Sri Advaitacharya Prabhu as his Guru, spiritual master. Why? Because we know Madhavendra Puri, the Guru of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is who? Ishwar Puri. Ishwar Puri and Madhavendra, our Advaitacharya Prabhu, both are disciples of Madhavendra Puri. So therefore, Advaitacharya Prabhu is the god brother of Ishwar Puri. So if Ishwar Puri is the Guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then automatically Advaitacharya Prabhu also the Guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who can become the Guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Like here, very interesting point. You see, when you hear this tattva, sometimes if you pay a little bit more, attention to it, then we will know maybe how is this possible? Who is Advaitacharya? Just like today and also previous classes we have been hearing, he is not different from the God, Lord. And here, so one Lord Chaitanya is respecting another Lord, Advaita, as his Guru. How is it possible? Well, Lila Pushti. This is just for the sake of the performance of Lila and experiencing the highest form of bliss. So therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is respecting our Advaitacharya Prabhu as a spiritual master. Thinking he, the Advaitacharya, is a disciple of Sri Madhavendra Puri, Lord Chaitanya obeys him, respecting him as his spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada writes in the first sentence, Sri Madhavendra Puri is one of the acharyas in the disciplic succession from Madhvacharya. Madhavendra Puri had two principal disciples, Ishwar Puri and Sri Advaita Prabhu. Then, towards the end, for the rest of the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives the disciplic succession, how we belong to this Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, because this, our parampara started from Brahma, and then gradually Brahma to came down the disciplic succession till today. That Prabhupada has given some description on the rest of the purports. Laukika lilate marma, laukika lilate dharma, marjada rakshan, stuti bhakti karena tar charana bandhan. To maintain the proper etiquette for the principles of religion, Lord Chaitanya bows down at the lotus feet of Sri Advaitacharya with reverential prayers and devotion. So as we said, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu respects Advaitacharya as his spiritual master, so in that way, he also offers obeisances to Advaitacharya. He offers reverential prayers to him. Chaitanya Gosai ke acharya kare prabhu gyan, apana ke karena tar das abhiman. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is respecting Advaitacharya Prabhu as his Guru. And Advaitacharya Prabhu considers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu his master. See, and he thinks of himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These kind of concepts cannot be understood by a non-devotee. Why? A devotee can understand the secret of Krishna consciousness. Or here you can say the love of Godhead, Krishna Prem, can act in such a way that the master may think, the master will sometime act in a way under the influence of Krishna Prem as a servant to his disciple. Here in this case, Advaitacharya Prabhu is master and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is his disciple, right? We have seen in one of the past time, Advaitacharya Prabhu used to teach Srimad Bhagavatam. And our Vishwarup, who is the elder brother of Nimai, used to study in Advaitacharya Prabhu's school. And in that, at that time, Nimai was a small child. And Nimai would come to fetch his brother. And at that time, sometimes Advaitacharya Prabhu also would chastise him because he's coming as a Digambar and he is creating noise, disturbance. And sometimes you would also teach him, and he's so young, such a small boy. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he respects Advaitacharya as his guru. But now you can see when Advaitacharya Prabhu, he is under the influence of Krishna Prem, he is not accepting himself as the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is thinking the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is what the main topic under discussion for today, as I said, key to the highest pleasure. How can a devotee in Krishna consciousness attain the highest form of pleasure? Many times we have heard from our devotees, Prabhu, I have been chanting, I am in the movement for so many years, but I don't experience any ecstasy when I chant. I don't feel any happiness when I am reading Bhagavatam or etc. etc. They say there is no taste, there is no happiness, there is no pleasure. Now listen carefully. As we said here, though wonderful characteristics of love of God, Krishna Prem, is such that even somebody who is in the position of a guru, he agrees to become the servant of the master. You can see Lakshmi Devi. Lakshmi Devi's position is where? She resides on the chest of Narayana. But Lakshmi Devi always seeking to go to the lotus feet because she wants to experience the happiness, the pleasure of servitude. Dasyaras. So that means in this connection, the Dasyaras, Dasya Bhav, Bhakti, the devotional service in the mood of servitude is the key to the highest pleasure. We're going to discuss this more. Now you see, Srila Prabhupada, he is explaining in this purport that how this Advaitacharya Prabhu, he is agreeing to, he thinks himself as the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is making him to think like that? So Prabhupada gives the reference from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami explains the super excellent quality of devotional service as follows. Brahmananda bhavetesha chet parardha gunikrita naiti bhakti sukham bodhe paramanu tulamapi. If multiplied billions of times, the transcendental pleasure derived from impersonal Brahman realization still could not compare to even an atomic portion of the ocean of bhakti or transcendental service. That means here the mood of the devotee is, I don't want to attain this Brahmananda. He does not want to become one with the Brahman. The Brahma Sukha is here denied. Means if the Brahman happiness, the happiness of Brahman realization is multiplied trillion times, Prabhupada is saying billions of times, still it cannot be compared to an atomic portion of the ocean of bhakti. This is the difference between Bhakti Ananda and Brahman. So when we say Bhakti Ananda means service. Bhakti Ananda means attainment of the happiness in devotional service by following these mellows. So one of these mellows are Dasyaras. And okay, there are so many references given. Prabhupada is giving this another reference from Padma Puran, where we used to sing in the month of Kartik, and this Damodarashtakam Varam Deva Moksham no Mokshavadimba no Chanyam Vinayam Vareshadapiya Dante Papurnatha Gopala Valam Sadami Manasyavi Rastam Kimanne Kuberatma Jauvaddha Murtveva Jadvat Pyamuchito Bhakti Bhajo Pitaucha Tatha Prema Bhaktim Shokam me prajacha no mokshe grahomesti damodare. Dear Lord, always remembering your childhood pastimes at Vrindavan is better for us than aspiring to merge into the impersonal Brahman. During your childhood pastimes, you liberated the two sons of Kuvera and made them great devotees of your lordship. Similarly, I wish that instead of giving me liberation, you may award me such devotion unto you. Then some other, references are given. The great devotee Hanuman prayed. What Hanuman is saying? Bhavavandhachide tasyai sprihayami namuktaye Bhavan Prabhuraham Dasa iti yatra vilupyate. Hanuman is saying, I don't wish to take liberation or to merge in the Brahman effulgence where the conception of being a servant of the Lord is completely lost. You can imagine those who want to merge their existence in Brahman effulgence to experience Brahmananda, that is here rejected by Hanuman. Because he is saying, I experience better happiness being the servant. I don't want to annihilate my existence and experience Brahma Sukha. Why? Because in Brahma Sukha there is no relationship. When there is no relationship, there is no happiness. The happiness is very negligible and that is not expanding. But in relationship, there is an exchange. As we were explaining other day, when a devotee serves the Lord becomes pleased with the service, the Lord reciprocates with the devotee. When Lord reciprocates with the devotee feels again he should do more service. So then when devotee does more service, then again Lord also reciprocates. Then again devotee does more service. Again reciprocation. Again more service. This way you can see there is an increase of transcendental ecstasy through service. So, and that service exchange is being the servant of the Lord, not in any other way. Not in any other way. You see, the last one, King Kulosekhar, in his very famous book, Mukunda Mala Stutra, prays, my Lord, I don't worship you to be liberated from this material entanglement, nor do I wish to save myself from the hellish condition of material existence, nor do I ever pray for a blissful wife to enjoy in a nice garden. I wish only that I may always be in full ecstasy with the pleasure of serving your Lordship. Serving means again servitude. Okay? And then Prabhupada speaks about that in Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 4th canto. There are a lot of references which confirms this fact that the pleasure derived in servitude is the highest. So then you can ask me, Prabhu, well, we know there are Dasyaras, Sakhyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuras. So what about other rasas? As if these rasas are of no use, they have no value, they don't give the highest form of pleasure. We need to understand this. Let us talk about, for example, Nanda Baba. Okay, Nanda Baba, he is in parental rasa, right? In Vatsalya rasa. But Vatsalya rasa, when he is in Vatsalya rasa, what he is trying to do? His Vatsalya rasa, when not predominated by opulence, he becomes more and more affectionately attracted to Krishna, and his attachment forces him to serve Krishna. Try to understand this. Nanda Baba is not thinking that my son one day is going to become a big boy and he will protect me during my old age. No, he's not thinking like that. In fact, we know that when Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan, and when Uddhava came to meet with Nanda Baba, and he said, Nanda Maharaj, why are you lamenting? You know, Krishna is your son, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Baba said, what? I don't know whether he is Supreme Personality of Godhead or what, but I know Krishna is my son. And I don't want any misfortune to come upon my son. And therefore, even if there is a God called Krishna, I'll pray to that God for my child's protection. See, this is the service. You can see, he's serving here, right? He's assuming the service mood. So in every mellow, the servitude mood takes over, and it gives the highest form of pleasure to the devotee in that particular mellow. So here, all the devotees are praying that they just want to remain a servant to serve the Lord. Further, you listen. Sei abhimana sukhe apana pasare Krishna dasa ho jive upadesha kare. He forgets himself in the joy of that conception and teaches all living entities, you are servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The transcendental devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so ecstatic that even the Lord himself plays the part of a devotee. This implies, this first sentence we can see, this implies the compassion of Advaitacharya. Because Advaitacharya has understood the key to the highest pleasure. When one assumes the mood of a servant, that gives him highest pleasure. Let us try to understand this concept very clearly. In the material world, the servant concept is very much disregarded. Nobody wants to become a servant. Everybody wants to become a master because they want to kind of, be served. They want to be happy being served. As we know, this world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So if here the master is being happy, being served by the servant, that means in the spiritual world, when the servant is serving the master, the servant becomes happy. He attains the highest form of pleasure. Now you can say, Prabhu, for philosophy's sake, you may be speaking like this, but we don't really experience here. We know we are devotee of the Lord Krishna, Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have temple, we have congregation, we go to temple, we do service. But I don't know. Really, I am able to see that is the highest form of pleasure we can derive through devotional service, being a servant. Even in temples, nobody wants to become a servant. Everybody wants to become, okay, let other people do the service. I want to just, do what I want. See, listen carefully. This is a fact. When one really cultivates the mood of a servant, he attains the highest form of pleasure. Why? When we assume the mood of a servant, at that time, there is no hankering in the mind. A servant, what kind of hankering he will have? A servant will have only one hankering, that I want to just do service for my Lord. Isn't it? This is a fact. Because we have a lot of hidden things in our mind, even though externally we pose ourselves as a servant, but internally we are having a lot of demand in form of respect, glorification, and so forth. So that is actually depriving us the real happiness that a servant experiences while serving the Supreme Lord. That means when we become a true servant, means we serve the Lord with proper consciousness as a servant, not for the sake of saying, oh, you are Krishna Das. Guru Maharaj has given me name Krishna Das. I am Krishna's servant. My dear sir, you are no one. You are not become a servant of Krishna yet. Have you realized? Servant means I don't have anything for me. I just do everything for the Lord. And in this concept, also there's another thing to know, that when you, what about a spiritual hankering? Okay, you see, what is your spiritual hankering? I'll go back to that, just try to understand this. Again, in being a servant, as I gave the example of Nanda Maharaj, the Nanda Maharaj in Vatsalya Ras. But that Vatsalya Ras is so kind of deep in Nanda Maharaj. Through Vatsalya Ras, he is saying that I only know Krishna is my son. I don't want anything, any bad to happen to my son. Even if there is a God by the name Krishna, I will pray to him for my son's welfare. Just see the mood here. Similarly, when a devotee who has assumed the proper mood of a servant, he will never think of anything for himself, like Nanda Maharaj. He did not think of anything for himself. The Sakhas, when they go to the Vrindavan in herding the cows, Krishna is sleeping in somebody's lap. Whatever happens, he will ensure that Krishna's sleep is not disturbed. He is fanning Krishna with hand fan and ensuring that Krishna is getting good sleep. In Sakyaras, he is also serving Krishna, and that gives him highest pleasure. Not that Krishna one day going to go up the berry tree to pluck the berry and give to the friend, oh, this is how we enjoy Sakyaras. Well, that is another way of enjoying Saksharas. But this highest form of Saksharas is enjoyed when the devotee is affectionately attached to the Lord. Try to understand. Affectionately attached means he is there to just serve the Lord. Even in every rasas, whether you say Sakya, Vatsalya, even Madhura rasa, there is an element of service. When they serve the Lord, they get highest form of pleasure. Jiver Sarupaya Nitya Krishna Das. Why? You are also Anandamaya Abhyasa. Being the part and parcel of the Supreme Anandamaya Abhyasa. So your constitution says you should be always happy. When we are having hankering on this material world in form of name, fame, adoration, profit, good birth, good education, good family name, good money, everything you want the top things in this world, that is covering your true identity. That you are a servant of the Lord. You don't see that. When you don't see your true identity, which is covered by the hankering to attain anything in this material plane, you are restricted to experience the highest form of pleasure that one can attain in the mood of servitude. Seva sukha dukha parama sampada nasaye avidya dukha. So, yes, if you see in the next, he explains, he gives Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he gives the evidence from scripture. Who are those great devotees? They have been experiencing the highest form of pleasure, being servant. Krishnadas Abhimane Jayananda Sindhu Koti Brahma Sukhana Tare Kovindo. The conception of servitude to Sri Krishna generates such an ocean of joy in the soul that even the joy of oneness with the Absolute, if multiplied 10 million times, could not compare to a drop of it. Muni Chaitanya Das Ar Nityananda Daso Bhava Samanahe Anyatra Ananda. See, Advaita Prabhu is saying, myself and Nityananda Prabhu are the servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And nowhere else is there such joy as that which is tested in this emotion of servitude. Parama Prevasi Lakshmi Hridaya Varsati Tehondasya Sukhamage Kariya Minati. The most beloved goddess of fortune resides on the chest of Sri Krishna, yet she too, earnestly praying, begs for the joy of service at his feet. Now hear more. Dasya Bhava Anandito Parisadagan Vidhi Bhava Narada Ar Sukha Sanatan. See, these are the evidences. Who are conforming the mood of servitude is the highest happiness, the key to highest pleasure. Bhava, Brahma. We see in Brahma's prayer, Brahma's Stuti, Brahma is saying, Tadastu me nath sabhuri bhago bhavet pravanyatra tubatirasyam jenahame kopi bhava jananam bhutva niseve tava pada pallavam. Brahma, who is the firstborn living entity in this world, we know he is Jagat Pita, right? Sometimes we address him as the Pita of this world, Father. And what is saying? Jadastu me natha sabhuri bhava. What is that highest saubhagya, highest form of good fortune for Brahma? Bhavetra vanyatra tuva tirascham. Whether in this world or in any other place, I take birth in whatever positions, as any small entity or as a tree, creeper, any form of life I accept. I will consider my birth as successful if I am given opportunity to take birth amongst your devotees, where I am getting opportunity to serve your lotus feet, my dear Lord. Tava pada pallavam. Huh? That is Brahma's prayer. Lord Shiva, Lord Shiva's position have been described in Brihad Bhagavatam. There are a lot of verses. I'm not going to read out all the verses. The essence is Lord Shiva is maddened in the love of, he is intoxicated in the love of Krishna. Therefore, he is teaching the entire world the highest form of renunciation by wearing this Dudra flower, and there's another flower called orco flower, and also he is wearing the skull and boon garland. Because he is so much intoxicated in the love of Krishna, in the mood of a servant, he is teaching everybody, why are you attached to this world? Learn from me. The highest form of happiness you can derive being a true servant of my worshipable Lord Krishna. And we know all this Narad Muni. Narada Muni is always singing in his Veena the glories of Krishna. Narada Muni Vajaya Veena Radhika Ramana Nami. We know this. Here, when we say Sukadev Goswami, very famous, he is engaged in singing Bhagavatam to glorify Krishna. Sanatana, Sanatana means Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar. These four rishis. In many scriptures, it says how they are enjoying the highest form of bliss, being identifying as a servant of the Supreme Lord. Now, my dear devotee, I did not make this philosophy that key to highest pleasure is cultivating the mood of, not only cultivating, being a servant of the Supreme Lord. When truly you do the service, when you have learned how to extinguish our false ego, how to not become so much attached to this material world, and we know that my position is to just serve the Lord, that is how you're going to get the highest form of pleasures. According to our qualification, we should serve. Somebody who is just simply doing some service in terms of cleaning in the temple, he should feel that I am doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. He will get the highest pleasure. Somebody who has managerial capacity, he is doing management for Krishna. Let him do this management for Krishna, thinking this is my service for Krishna. Not for how people are going to respect me as a manager, what kind of facility I will get, how much maintenance I will get. If I get higher and higher position, everybody will come and they will offer obeisances to me. When Arati is coming from the altar, first Arati should come to me because I am the head of the temple. If he is thinking like that, then he will be deprived from attaining the highest form of pleasure. No, this is my service. This is what I have to do because this is the service I have to do for Krishna. Prabhu, it's not easy. That is why you don't get the happiness. Brahma, Shiva, Narad, Sukadeva Goswami, Sanatan, Sanat Kumar. How many evidences you want? They are conforming. The key to the highest pleasure is in the emotion of servitude. All the associates of Lord Krishna, such as Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Shuka, Sanatan, Kumaras, are very pleased in the sentiment of servitude. Very pleased means that is the key to the highest success, that you
identify truly yourself, you recognize yourself as a true servant, you will be proud. You should feel proud. Actually, people in this world, they think that they can attain some material object to become wealthy, and that's how they can become happy. Now I am telling you, this is your highest wealth. Highest wealth is establish your relationship as the servant and master. Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is your master and you are his servant. Just establish this relationship. You see, that is the highest treasure. That is the highest wealth. There is no superior wealth in this world. Why I am saying this? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, in discussion, Mahaprabhu is asking, Rai, please tell me, Sampatti Madhya Jiver, Kon Sampatti Gani, Radha Krishna Prem Jar Sai Bado Dhani. Ramananda Rai is saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking, my dear Rai, can you tell me what is the highest form of wealth you consider for the living entities? He said, Radha Krishna Prem Jar. Anyone who has got love for Radha and Krishna, he is the highest, he is the wealthiest person. What do you mean by having prema for Radha and Krishna? Prema for Radha and Krishna means you are a servant of Radha and Krishna. You are serving. Try to understand this. We are not trying to speak something to make you happy. No, it's a fact. It's a fact. People who, after retirement, hankering to gain happiness through taking care of their grandchildren, bringing them to market, to buy some things for them, reading newspaper, eating something, going to the places to visit and see all material objects. My dear sir, nothing is going to give you highest form of pleasure. Just after you have become retired and you are staying at home, you have got no other thing to do, ensure that you are fully 100% engaged in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu according to your capacity. Find some guru, ask him how you can become engaged. That is going to give you highest form of happiness. Confirmed by Narad Muni. For Kumaras, Lord Shiva is saying, Sukadeva Goswami is saying, Brahma is saying. What more evidence you want? That means when we have failed to experience the highest form of pleasure, while identifying ourselves as a servant of the Lord, that means somewhere there is something missing, something wrong in my surrender as a servant. That's why I am not able to experience the highest form of pleasure. But those who are sincerely engaged as a servant, they actually experience. And you can practice that also. Nothing to kind of, just say, you can also experience that. Then, text number 46 to 50, these 5 verses show highest joy is attained in servitude. Parama Prevasi Lakshmi, that's what we are discussing now. Dasya Bhavyanandito Parishodagan Vidhi Bhavo Narada Arsuka Sanatan Nityananda Vadhut Sabate Agol Chaitanyaro Dasya Preme Haila Pagol Sri Ram Haridas Ramadas Gadadhar Murari Mukunda Chandra Shekhar Bakrishwar Yasava Pandita Loka Paramamahatva Chaitanyaro Dasya Savai Karaye Unmatta. After giving evidence from these great personalities, these Mahajanas, Brahma, Shiva, Narad, Sukadeva Goswami, Now he's giving the example of the devotees in Chaitanya pastime. Srivas, Haridas, Ramdas, Gadadhar, Murari, Mukunda, Chandrasekhar, Bhakreshwar, they all are Panditas. And they also confirm the same. That the highest form of ecstasy, the pleasure one attains being a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. এই মতো গায় নাচে করে অট্টহাস লোকে উপদেশে হো চৈতন্যের দাস চৈতন্য গোসাই মরে করে গুরু জ্ঞান তথাপি মোর হয় দাস অভিমান Advaitacharya, he is confirming. He is saying, see, ei moto gai nache. Ei moto means whatever we have discussed in the previous 5 verses. In that way, he is singing, laughing like a madman, and he is instructing everyone, just be loving servant of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Advaitacharya thinks Lord Chaitanya considers me his spiritual master, yet I feel myself to be only his servant. That means that is how I attain the highest form of pleasure. So we conclude by understanding that the key to the highest form of pleasure is to become the servant of the personality of God. And even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's language, if you say, Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasa Nudasa. Anyway, if you can become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Gopi Bharta, that is highest. So anyway, we can practice to become servant of the devotee of the Lord at the same time, and becoming servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also is the key to the highest pleasure. So I think we should conclude here our discussion. We will continue from text number 53 next week. If you have any question or comment, I hope you have understood it. Please raise your hands. Thank you, Murli Govind Prabhu. Yes, Sailesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and our prayers of Prabhupada. What a wonderful class. Thank you. So I have a question. It's a little related to perhaps Murli Govind Prabhu's question, but also the emphasis on our attitude in our fallen state, or at least in my fallen state, I should say, not in yours. You're a very elevated devotee, but in my fallen state should always be one of dasya, servitude. But those higher rasas, the gopi bhavas and the madhurya, the vatsalya, do they consider themselves as servants, even though they would consider Krishna to be the junior in vatsalya, let's say? I know you explained it with Nanda Baba, but his mood is not one of servitude, is it? His mood is one of affectionate love as his son.
That's how he's serving, no, his son. You see, he is not thinking my son is Bhagavan, and Bhagavan means so great. No, my son, he is my, even I said, even if he is my son, even if he is God, doesn't matter. There is a God by the name Krishna. I want to pray to him. Let my Lala remain protected. Let my Lala be safe and secure. This is his service to Krishna.
But isn't there a difference between servitude and service?
Anyway,
because dasya means das means that you are considering yourself to be the servant of Krishna, which we are, of course. But in those madhurya rasas and those really high rasas, do they still consider like that?
In madhurya ras, highest rasa means they are actually serving Krishna. They are actually serving Krishna. Means servant mood is they don't expect anything for them. This is the service.
is the mood of a servant. So the gopis, whichever way they are serving Krishna, do you think they have any desire for self-satisfaction? No. So that is actually service, and that service actually comes when his relationship is so intense that he wants to do kind of something for his affectionate one. I can give you another example. Even in the material world, Prabhu, you see a mother uh, when she truly serves her child, she feels happy and satisfied. Uh, I can tell you, I can share some experience. When I was a small child, actually, I remember, means I was not a big boy, I was a small child, but still my consciousness, I still remember, I remember this, I know, that's what I can cite this example. Uh, and I had diphtheria. Diphtheria means, you get some kind of, what do you say, disease in the stomach, in the throat, and you can't eat anything even. I was not able to eat anything. And I was 24 hours, I was just sleeping. I know, I remember very well. And I have seen, because at that time I was not so young that I could not read how my mother was feeling or what was her situation. And in my house, I didn't have anyone. My sister is elder sister. She was already married. My mother, she was the only person at home. There was no other elderly person to assist her. She was doing all household activities. We are three brothers. My father was a school teacher. He was going to the school. And my mother, she would not eat. Sometimes she would cry so much to see that I am not able to eat. And I would cry. Then she will kind of prepare something for me. Then she will make me sit on her lap, and she will feed me so affectionately. What she is doing, she is serving me, right? She is serving me. And when she sees her son is eating something, that is her kind of highest happiness. I could see that. I could feel that. And the day doctor is not coming, she is so kind of so much disturbed. Why doctor is not coming? What kind of medicine she is going to give next? I mean to say, this is service. That service, where that service mood is coming from? Do you think any other lady in our society was concerned about me, like my mother? Were they serving like that? No. That Vatsalya Ras, even in the material world, also forcing someone to serve the baby, and then when the baby is happy, that is giving her happiness and satisfaction. But that is through service. Then what to speak of the relationship in the spiritual platform? Definitely, that cannot be explained by material words. Maksulila Mata, you want to say something?
I have a question, Prabhuji, so once you finish, then I can ask.
Okay. You understand, Sailesh Prabhu? You see, these are little kind of, try to understand this. Even, see, Vasudev was also the father. But sometimes Vasudev will think, oh, Krishna is God. He's my son. At the same time, he's God. At that time, his Vatsalya Rasa is going to become reduced. And the service is not going to become so prominent. Because Krishna, now he's thinking Krishna is God. So in that way, when one's relationship with Supreme Lord is occupying the prominent position, that position is going to force the devotee to serve the Supreme Lord. Through that service, only he will gain the highest form of pleasure. Again, I am telling you, when the particular relationship becomes predominant under the influence, under the predominance of that particular rasa, when the devotee is engaged in serving Krishna, that gives the experience of highest pleasure to the devotee. Not otherwise.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So is it would be true to summarize that in that every devotee, no matter what level of devotion is, has this mood of
Element
servitude,
of-
of dasya,
Yes.
but it is covered by the ruchi of that sentiment that they have, whether it's vatsalya or whether it's prema. Is that a true way
Yes,
of
yes. When the Vatsalya rasa or any rasa attains its perfection, in that state of perfection, it will force the devotee to serve the Lord. And through that service, only he is attaining highest form of happiness, pleasure, not otherwise. As I said, how many of us have realized this and as a true servant, and with that consciousness only we are serving the Lord? No, we have, as I said, our externally we are saying like this, but our true self is covered by so much of hankering in this material world, name, fame, adoration, and all. That's why we are not able to experience the highest form of pleasure. Unless we completely eradicate that part of self-recognition and you can say, aggrandizement or hankering, we will not be able to experience that happiness.
It's a truly beautiful thing, isn't it, Bhakti? It is so beautiful. I mean, it is just mind-blowingly beautiful. Whatever mood you want, you can take. Krishna accepts, so long as our objective is only to please him. Ultimately, he doesn't mind what mood you take, but the ultimate objective is to be pleased. I mean,
Yes.
it's beautiful. This philosophy is just so deep, Prabhuji. Thank you for opening it up in such a wonderful way for us. Thank you.
Krishna consciousness is full of bliss, Prabhu. Krishna consciousness is nothing but just happiness and happiness. No, happiness, all about happiness. Vrindavan Dham is sweet, and devotional self is even more sweet. When we are not able to go to Vrindavan, wherever you stay, those who are fortunate souls, they are living in Vrindavan, like our Narsinganitai Prabhu. Vrindavan, Jai Ho Sadhu Baba, you are enjoying the sweetness of staying in Vrindavan Dham. We are away from Vrindavan Dham, and we can try to serve Krishna, and we can also live in Vrindavan in consciousness, and you can be happy. Krishna consciousness is simply wonderful. If you know how to serve Krishna. Anyway, thank you. Maksudra Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, my question is around, as you mentioned, like today's the overall what we have to learn, like try to be a servant.
Yeah.
So, like when we come and we are new, we are so enthusiasm and so, we have sincerity and everything to serve. But then after a few years, like we started thinking that, that like now we are in a senior category. Not sure why we think like that, but we should always, when I think if we have to practice to be a servant, even though if we are senior, then that means we are a senior servant. So we should be more towards it and not like in a mood of leading and being a boss. So how could we try to keep that thing in our mind so that we can always be hankering for the service and to serve?
Mataji, let me tell you. Sometimes this term, senior servant is also another designation. I am a senior servant, he is a junior servant. Anyway, but this term should be understood correctly. You see, this is a fact that when we stay long in the society, if we have become, we have lived in the society for many, many years, that means we are supposed to accept more responsibility. More responsibility means you recognize that your acceptance of being a servant of God and devotee community should be acted upon more realized platform, not on the mental platform. That means, again, coming back to the same point, you become so simple. Just like a child is seen that he doesn't have a false ego. He is so simple, he is so kind of, mixing with everybody. Everybody loves a child because a child doesn't have a false ego. It's not manifest yet actually. Yes, but it did not become manifest yet. So you'll become clean like a child. And at that time, you know that, what is the use of my existence in this world if somebody kind of, treats me with high respect, somebody blasphemes me, somebody condemns me. So what? I am one person, because I have this body, people call me Padmanayana. So what? The day I am leaving this body, who cares about this body, Padmanayana? But if I really consider myself Padmanayana Das, a servant of the lotus-eyed Lord, that means that is my true identity. I don't have to worry about how people they treat me in terms of my position, in terms of my body, in terms of my educational qualification. So what? And if I what kind of big person, big designation I may have, if I do service, that is going to bring me success. If I realize this, then all these things is not going to go into there. Unfortunately, some people, they saw big qualification, what they are in this material world. I am this graduate, I am this degree holder, I am that degree holder, he has done this, that. Prabhu, these are actually again, spoiling our consciousness. Once you give up that material life, just spit at it. Don't think who you are here. You are nothing. Because we are not able to give up on all these things, that's why all these things are kind of somewhere or other, it's hidden in your subconsciousness, and from time to time, they are popping up and creating disturbance to us. And we are being deprived of this highest form of happiness that a servant can experience by serving the Lord. So if you can give up these upadhis, and just be a menial servant. People respect you, they say they have high, they speak high of you, they badmouth you. You are not worried at all because my duty is to just serve them. I can tell you, you will enjoy the highest form of happiness. Krishna will give you that intelligence. I hope you are able to understand what I am saying, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
It's a very subtle things actually, very subtle things. You have to understand it correctly. Actually, there is happiness, I can tell you, in service. Those who really do service happily, they get happiness. This is a fact actually. Because see, why I am telling this? Today I spoke, I gave the evidence like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, they are the kind of one, Chatusan. They are not anybody from the mundane world. So this is the fact.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Just a small realization on that. Maybe it's not inappropriate to say so, but the moment a devotee classifies himself as a senior devotee, it goes to show that he's actually not a developed devotee. Any serious devotee who is rising in his devotion will always consider himself more and more junior as he becomes more senior, as it were. More unqualified as you become more qualified. Isn't that the mood of a true Vaishnava, that he doesn't consider himself qualified or senior?
That means through his behavior, it will become prominent. He is not pretending to make a show as if he has become like a junior, he acting like that. If he pretends, then one day his true color is going to come up. But he will, if he has cultivated that mood, that consciousness within himself, through his dealing
through his service, through his way of living, these things will become very, very prominent. Just like a child never behaves like a child, willfully, I mean to say. Naturally, he's a child. He's behaving like the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he eats, everything becomes so enjoyable to people because he is a true child. If somebody, without being a child, he acts like a child, hey, he's a culprit. So in that way, if we have cultivated the true consciousness as a servant of the Supreme Lord, that will become manifest through our behavior, through our service, through our speech, through our mood. Everything will become clear.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Bankim Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for a wonderful class. So what I could understand is the one quality which we need to develop is humility. So with that quality, that's enough, which can make us really humble. What I would like to ask is,
and also we have to cultivate simplicity.
okay.
Simplicity.
Fine,
Yes.
Prabhu.
Cultivate simplicity. Yeah.
So I mean, today most of the devotees are kind of working. So in the material world, while they deal with the material world, it feeds with all the possibility to increase the lust, anger, our greed. So on the one hand, we are facing the material world working, and this indirectly, knowingly, unknowingly, this all kind of is growing within us. The lust. On the other hand, and we simultaneously perform devotional service, and we expect to become more and more humble. It's possible that one simultaneously works and grows in his material life at the same time he wants to grow in his devotional life.
No, you don't have to try to grow materially. We want to terminate our material growth. That is why we have entered into spiritual life.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That may be difficult though, because unknowingly we may be actually growing in our material life, but we think we may be humble, but actually we're growing. We may be having the lust to gather, to accumulate everything, but we think we are. The fact is, we think we are very humble and simple, but actually we are not sufficient. We think this is not sufficient. We still want to accumulate. Actually, unknowingly we are not growing devotionally, but we may think that we are. So materially and devotional both will not go hand in hand, is what I'm thinking, Prabhu.
Yes.
Either you can become a CEO of a company, or you leave that and become grow in your spiritual life. Am I correct?
Prabhu, unless you reduce your attachment to this material world, you cannot become attached to Krishna. That is 100% sure. Those who think I can also materially be successful and spiritually be successful, there is no, I don't think that's a correct way of thinking.
So it's either one, Prabhu.
We have to one day give up this material world. Whether you give up or not, one day is going to leave you. That's a fact. That's a reality. So you will fully give it up for your good. They are intelligent people.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you, dear devotees. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna